What's a movie with a great premise but a terrible execution?
I will forever stay mad about how badly Eragon turned out.
Jumper. I still actually enjoy the movie a lot because the premise is so cool and it has its moments, but it could have been better for sure.
In Time with Justin Timberlake, everyone ages normally until 25, and after that you have a number ticking away on your forearm. You can earn more time, but whenever it runs out you die on the spot. The rich are basically immortal, and the poor that are paycheck to paycheck are one wrong move away from death. Cool idea for a commentary on inequality, but not well executed.
Mortal Engines. The steampunk-esque engineering aspect was so cool, but it ended up being about some sappy romance between teens. A let-down sad face. The visuals were kick-ass though.
The Dark Tower source material, Stephen King book series, is amazing. Movie is crap.
The Percy Jackson and Artemis Fowl movies. They are two of my favorite book series, but they combine too much stuff from the books to the point where it feels like a different series. Edit. I haven't seen them in a while, but yes, Eragon and Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live-action one, to be clear, were terrible as well.
Hancock. It's half of a great movie with a different, terrible movie for the second half.
Downsizing. A movie with people being shrunk down to 5 inches, so obviously it's about a boring romance and global warming. I think of it as a movie that thought it was too good for its own premise.
Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Like you're telling me that with all of the source material that inspired tons of well-known sci-fi franchises today and a $177 million budget, they FCKED it up with miscasting the leads and an unfocused plot. I'm also a huge fan of the Valerian and Laureline comics, so it bummed me out how they fumbled the one chance at a live-action film.
I watched this documentary about Frozen 2 and its production and how they basically needed to redo the entire movie in 3 months because the kids didn't like it. So it went from this super thought-out storyline to a bit of a mishmash of unsatisfying plotlines. I always wonder what we could have had instead. So yay, Frozen 2.
Gods of Egypt. That movie is criminally bad yet had all the potential in the world to be a massive hit. And cement itself as one of the best movies based on ancient mythology.
World War Z. I didn't hate the movie, but the book was so much better. I could see this as a Band of Brothers type miniseries.
The Purge. What a brilliant concept. They could have done so many different things with it, but they chose a goddamn house invasion storyline. One of the biggest disappointments in cinema for me.
The movie Avatar: The Last Airbender. Edit. Thank for the awards and comments. I'm glad we agree.
Dark Phoenix. We've run out of mutant enemies, let's do aliens.
The Robin Hood movie with Russell Crowe. It was written to be told from the Sheriff of Nottingham's viewpoint and the villain was right style. Then the studio chickened out and made another vanilla Robin Hood movie.
Green Lantern. They had the source material and it was a disaster, just bad with the CGI and the plot.
Daybreakers was a pretty cool look at a vampire society, but the second half about the cure was so dumb.
Jupiter Ascending.
Rip D with Ryan Reynolds and Jeff Bridges.
Man of the Year. A comedian launches a third-party bid for the presidency and wins. Despite a solid performance from Robin Williams, a thoroughly forgettable movie with a lame script. Could have had a lot of heart and a lot of laughs.
Seventh Son. It's based on the last Apprentice book series by Joseph Delaney, which are fantastic books. The movie on the other hand is terrible and was a big flop. Whoever thought to have Jeff Bridges do that accent was an idiot.
The Happening. The movie gets gradually worse every time anyone opens their mouth. I always thought the idea was cool and really scary.
Passengers. Should have been told from the girl's POV.
The Assassin's Creed movie.
Yesterday, a man wakes up in a world where the Beatles never existed. Amazing premise, awful ending. They did not know how to land that plane well.
In Time. I love the concept in the world, but unfortunately it's just a movie where pretty people run around for an hour and a half. Total waste.
Percy Jackson. They literally had all the great source material in their hands, and threw it all aside to make their own dumb movie with just the same character names.
Brightburn. It could have been an absolute cult classic if they did it as more of a character study with an intersection between pre-adolescent growing pains, the sci-fi elements, and emergent psychopathy. Instead it was just a gory supernatural horror and an origin story of a supervillain who is only evil because of some hand-waved alien beep and NBSP. Edit. I wrote an alternate synopsis for the movie a while back if you're.
A Wrinkle in Time was one of my favorite books as a child. Disney's version was so bad I had to turn it off after 5 minutes. I've willingly sat through a lot of bad movies in my day, but it was so cringy I just couldn't do it.
Eragon and Percy Jackson. The movies could have been so much better to follow the amazing books. Oh, and Golden Compass.
Passengers with Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence.
Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets.
The Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian. As well as Voyage of the Dawn Treader. The books the films were based off of were fantastic fantasy stories. Brilliant and exciting and great for all ages. But Caspian and Dawn Treader was a perfect example of not sticking to the original material. They were poorly written and relapsed the character development so many times. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe was the exact opposite. It stuck to the book, stayed true to the characters and put heart and soul into the production. It was a shame to see the Narnia story ripped apart just to have 2 bad movies.
The Island. Lots of ethical questions about cloning and the human life. But it was directed by Michael Bay.
Suicide Squad. First one.
The Nun, great setting, great premise, even had a good story but the climatic fight with the main antagonist, spoiler alert, the Nun, was really stupid and kind of let it down.
I am number 4. I've read the book and I liked it, but the movie had a tad too much sprinkle of Hollywood.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. A Victorian-era Justice League movie set in a world where literary classics are all true is such a fun idea that you could go wild with, and somehow the results were a bland, forgettable mess. Van Helsing is another one with the same issue. How are you going to take a story featuring Dracula, Frankenstein's monster and the Wolfman and then somehow make it into a boring action movie where each scene leaves your mind as soon as it's over? Too dull to keep you awake yet too loud to let you fall asleep. Edited to add. If you like the concept of League but not the execution, I highly recommend checking out the comics, which are phenomenal. The first 2 volumes in particular scratch the itch that the movie creates. I'm also a fan of the stuff that comes after the first 2 volumes, though I get why they may be too trippy and abstract and simply bizarre for a lot of people.
Legion with Paul Bettany. Interesting concept, but it ended up being just terrible.
The live-action DBZ movie. I wish it was never made, to be honest.
X-Men. Origins Wolverine. Logan's origin was already shown in Origin and Weapon X, and all they had to do was adapt that stuff. But they beep it up by introducing a love interest 5 minutes before killing her off, ruining Gambit and Blob, using overused tropes and cliches, CGI that looked bad even in 2009, and whatever the hell they did to Deadpool.
Ender's brilliant little beep but would have been so much better with a proper cast.
I Am Legend. SM writers of the movie completely missed the point of the book.
I thought Pedro Pascal's character in Wonder Woman, 1984 was a very cool premise, and then well, you know.
Devil by M. Night Shyamalan. I think the nostalgia critic said it best in his video Years. Bunch of people trapped in an enclosed space, one of them is a murderer, and every time the lights go out they take someone out, and it's a race to find out who the killer is, but it's ruined by making the killers supernatural.
Fahrenheit 451. The lead was just wrong. Every aspect of the movie was off. I so wanted to like this movie.
Till I have terrible taste in movies.
10,000 BC. At first it seemed like it was gonna be a cool adventure taking place in 10,000 BC, but it turned out to be some beep fantasy movie.
Percy Jackson movies. The books were awesome but the movies sucked.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to subscribe to Upvote for the best quality content every day.